Okay, so the first thing you have to do is enter your data. All right, so let's check. So 2, you can kind of see it. All right, I've got some extra stuff here. I'm just going to empty that. Don't need it. Okay, enter the data, check. Get the regression equation. Now I'm telling you which one to pick. Eventually, I'm not going to tell you what to pick. It's going to be your job to pick a good regression equation. For your project, you're going to collect your own data. It's going to be different for everybody. You're going to have to pick your own regression. Okay? Today, I told you to pick exponential. So, equation, stat, calc. Scroll down to exponential regression. Then you get the menu to pop up. Now notice L3, L4. I type my data in L1 and L2. Automatically your calculator puts L1 and L2. So if you type in those two lists, you're good. If not, you're going to have to change it. And so if you're trying to change it, I'm looking at my calculator, and right above the number 1, that's where L1 is, and it's blue. So I'm going to press second, number 1, and then L1 pops up. Okay, so now I have to change the Y list to L2, so second, number 2. Here's the important part. Store the regression equation. That's where I'm going to press alpha trace. That's your shortcut menu. And I'm going to select Y1 because I want it to copy the equation into Y1 so I don't have to write it down. All right, calculate. Okay, R squared is 1. If you read the front, it said that's the best possible regression equation. Okay, and I could jot these numbers down. You don't have to, right? That's why. I'll show you in a second. I don't care what you round to, guys. It's up to you. Just pick something reasonable. And by reasonable, you might have to try it a few different ways before you decide what you like. X. Okay, now I'm going to type Y1, right? Go up to Y equals. It copied it with all of those decimal places for me. That's why you store it, so you don't have to write it and type it. Okay? Now this is saying which is closest to the expected amount in savings account 30 years after. So basically it wants the value that goes here. Now I have to look, number of years after deposit. That means it wants to put 30 in for X. And yeah, you could type this, but you lost some accuracy because I rounded the numbers. How would you find that without having to write it down? Well, if you're in the Y equals menu, okay, you can go to the table, second table. Now I've got some numbers here that don't really mean anything to me. Okay, so I want this to be a 30. Now I could scroll, it would take a really long time. So instead, I'm just going to go to second window, which is the table set. It means I'm going to set up my table. And I'm going to just start my table at 30 because that's the number I'm looking for. Okay, then we're going to go back to table. There you go. There's a number. This is multiple choice. Those numbers are pretty far apart. Could it work if I actually just typed in 1,000, 1.06 power 30? Yeah, that's fine. Right, but you're going to get equations that are a lot longer with a lot more decimals, and you're not going to want to have to copy them all down. Now, part of that said, get data, get equation. We skipped number 3. Get a new Y value. So let's see if we can't get a picture. Zoom. This is the only time zoom is an appropriate thing to use. Stat. Why does zoom stat work? Because you are actually using the stat menu. And what zoom stat does is it takes your list and it just zooms in around the list that you put in. And you can see the points that you have here. If you'd like to check your window, you press the window button. Look, it goes from 1.2 to 10.8. Look at that. All it did is it surrounded the existing x's and y values, 1,000 roughly to 2,000 roughly. All it does is it surrounds the table of values that you have, so you don't have to type it. ZoomStat automatically does it for you. Okay, you should be doing the exact same thing for the second example. Enter the data, get the equation, get a picture, fill in the new column. This model, that is your regression equation. Just a different word for it. All right, go for it. See what happens. What you are supposed to take away from today, besides being able to enter the data, get an equation, get a picture, and type in some new values, you are doing two things. First, you're using 2009, and then you are rescaling the data to smaller values. Now, if I just look at these numbers, these are only 4 units apart, 5 units apart, 5.5, 5. They're very close together. The closer your data values are, the better your equation is and the easier it is to use it. You will collect your own data. I will not tell you how to record it and how to scale it. You are going to have to try those things on your own in order to come up with a good equation. For your project, is it likely you will have to try like 3 or 4 tables before you pick a good one? Yeah, that's part of the process. Okay, you have to figure it out yourself. I am showing you how to scale your data and what kind of similarities and differences you will get when you do that. Okay? We will also talk about your R-squared value. I will not require you to get the highest R-squared value. You will have to balance that with the complexity of your equation and the R-squared, right? R-squared goes up, but your degree is like 10. I don't want a 10th degree. I'm going to go back to like maybe a 3rd degree, and my R-squared just goes like 0.4 down, or 0.04. That's fine. You're going to have to learn to balance those things here. Notice the difference between this example, that C value was really big. And then when you did it again, that C value, much smaller. Easier to type in. I know when you took chemistry, they talked about significant figures, and you're like, this makes no sense. Where am I ever going to use this? Next class, you will use significant figures. Like, it matters when you are rounding what happens with that. Scientific notation cuts off a lot of significant figures, and it's gonna matter when you start collecting your own data. Okay, so you should be just about finished. This is a completion grade. I suggest you get it done now. Okay, I will check it next class, but it should be here. Okay, notice that I didn't tell you how to input your data. You just need to input it. I don't care how, just do it. Just make sure your scatter plot represents what you did. Now, it says 2000 so I do want you to get 2 equations to see what happens with it. All right? And I don't tell you what regression. You're going to have to pick one. Maybe look at your picture and pick a shape that works. All right?